Bonjour! I'm here to go over the two types of future tenses in French and how to use and construct them. All right, let's get started. So, like I mentioned, there are two ways to express what's happening in the future in French. There's the futur proche and the futur simple. The futur proche is used to express what's happening in the near future, so what is going to happen. So, for example, I'm going to swim, I'm going to dance, I'm going to eat. It has that going to part in it. While the future simple expresses what's happening in the further future. So things that will happen, for example, I will dance, I will eat, I will sing. So that's how you differentiate between the two, whether it's happening in the near future, it's going to happen, or the further future, it will happen. All right, let's look at how to construct them. So the future proche here, we have to have a subject, obviously, and then aller conjugated in the present tense with that subject. Aller obviously means to go, so that's where that going to part comes from. And then the infinitive of the verb they are wanting to conjugate. So here we have some examples with each subject. I'll just be je vais chanter. So we'll have je, the subject, they is aller conjugated with je, and then chanter is just the infinitive. You don't have to do anything to it. It's just there. The infinitive doesn't change for each subject. So all you need is aller and the infinitive, and then you're good to go. All right, let's move on and look at the future simple. All right, so the future simple is a little more complicated. You need the subject plus a future stem and then the future endings. So let's look up here at the future endings. Some people call the future endings avoir endings, but they're not necessarily the avoir endings because they're just slightly different than what the avoir endings are. But they're very similar. So we have AI, AS, A, which are the first three avoir endings, but then ONS, OZ, ONT. So these two are what are different from the avoir endings because in avoir, this should be avant and this should be ave. So the a, they letters, are missing from this part right here. So it really is the endings of the word. So I guess that's where they get the avoir endings part, but I'll just prefer to call it the future endings so it doesn't get super confusing. So those are what the future endings are going to be, and all you're going to do is slap those future endings on to the end of the future stem, and you have the future. So let's look at some future stems for different types of verbs. ER verbs, the infinitive is the future stem. So the infinitive of the verb is just your future stem. All you need to do is add on those future endings to the infinitive. So looking at je chanterai, I have the subject, I took the infinitive, and then just added on the ending for je. And then I did that with all the rest. You can look at it if you'd like. For IR verbs, it's exactly the same. The infinitive is the future stem. So for choisir, I said je choisirai. I just added the AI for je onto the end there, and I had I will choose. That's what that translates to. And then for RE verbs, it's a little different, just a tiny bit different. All you need to do is take off the E, and then that's the stem. So you can't add those endings on when there's still the E there. You just need to take them off and then add them to the end there with just the R at the end. So je vendrai, tu vendras, il, elle en vendra. So you take off that E, add on those endings, and then you have the future for RE verbs. And that translates to I will sell. All right, let's look at some irregular verbs because it's French. Of course, there have to be a ton of irregular verbs for the future. These are just the most commonly used ones. There are probably a ton more of irregular future stems, but these are just the most high frequency ones. So I've listed here the infinitive of the verb, what the verb is, and then the stem, the future stem, and then I've just given you an example in the je form of the verb being used in the future. So obviously you just take that stem and add on those same future endings, and then you have it in the future. So avoir, the stem is or, j'aurai. Pouvoir, the stem is pour, je pourrai. Être, the stem is ser, je serai. Vouloir, the stem is voudre, je voudrais. Venir, the stem is viendre, je viendrai. Savoir, the stem is saur, je saurai. Envoyer, the stem is envers, j'enverrai. Faire, the stem is faire, je ferai. And aller, the stem is ir, j'irai. That one is very irregular. All right, so again, you just take those stems and add on those avoir not really avoir endings. And then you have the future. And that again is just the future simple. The future proche is constructed with aller plus the infinitive. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.